Welcome to Fighting Stats, the ultimate channel for MMA fans who love statistics and betting breakdowns. I'm your host, Art C, and I'm here to get you ready for the upcoming UFC fights. In this series, I'll be watching tape and providing my real-time analysis on how I think the fights are going to go. I'll be watching for fighters' strengths, weaknesses, tendencies, and overall strategies, pairing that with Fighting Stats' exclusive UFC stats not available anywhere else to give you a prediction on how I think the fights are going to go and ultimately who's going to win. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Welcome to Fighting Stats. Down the UFC 300 fight between Holly Holm, the preacher's daughter, and UFC newcomer Kayla Harrison. Now, this fight is going to be a little bit different because Kayla Harrison is making her UFC debut at UFC 300. We don't have a ton of UFC stats on her. She is coming from PFL. So we did go back and watch all of the fight tape on Kayla Harrison. So we have a really good idea of what Kayla Harrison wants to do. Reminder, Kayla Harrison, two-time Olympic judo medalist in the Olympics. So very high-level judo player, does want to get the fight down to the ground. So we'll talk about the sort of what happens in those fights, but we'll go through the stats first of all, because Kayla Harrison is going to be a judo player, and what we found in the fight tape is that Kayla Harrison wants to get the fight down to the ground. Again, she uses a lot of trip takedowns, so when she does get in, not your typical single leg, double leg, but she will clinch. She'll look for inside trips, outside trips, things like that. So right away, we do have stats on Holly Holm, so we're going to go through the stats first. I'll go through my fight predictions on how I think the fight's going to go, and then I'll give you some numbers in terms of where I think the line should be and maybe where the best bets are. So it's going to be a little bit different, but we're going to go right into the detailed grappling report of Holly Holm. So first thing right away off the bat, Holly Holm has not faced a ton of grapplers, and I'll go into the numbers here, but 75% of the strikes absorbed for Holly Holm are going to be at a distance, 22% in the clinch, and 3% on the ground. She has not seen a lot of ground time and ground strikes thrown. So takedown numbers overall, she's seen 0.9 takedown attempts on average in round number 1, goes down to 0.3 in round number 2, up to 0.5 in round number 3, and then rounds 4 and 5, I'm going to disregard this fight being a 3-round fight, so just looking at rounds 1, 2, and 3. And then you see successful takedowns. Takedowns allowed, 0.1 on average in round number 1, 0.1 in round number 2, and 0.2 in round number 3. So not a lot of takedowns allowed by Holly Holm in her UFC career here. And then you can see sub reversals here, not a lot of sub attempts either or reversals, and the control time against not really big. It does drop off there as the rounds go on, but we'll go into the numbers here. So overall in her UFC career, she's only seen 33 takedown attempts against, so Holly Holm, and only allowed 7% of them. So very good takedown numbers. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to go back to the tape and watch all of the takedown attempts against. So going back here, she makes her UFC debut. Holly Holm makes her UFC debut in 2015 against Raquel Pennington. Raquel Pennington going 0 for 5 in takedown attempts in that fight. Holly Holm coming in as this decorated boxer, kickboxer, striker against Raquel Pennington. Not a super strong grappler in her own, but she goes 0 for 5 in takedowns against Raquel Pennington. And she wins a decision there. So then she fights Marion Renault, no takedown attempts there. She fight Ronda Rousey for the belt. Now, if this is back in 2015. If you remember that fight, Ronda Rousey was like a minus 1,400 favorite in that fight. Holly Holm, the plus 700 underdog, one of the biggest underdogs and whatnot. So Ronda Rousey, very similar to Kayla Harrison in that judo practitioner, wants to get the fight down to the ground, wants to close the distance. So I did go back and watch that fight. I know, again, it's been almost 10 years ago, but the game plan looks very similar. So if you go back and watch that fight, Holly Holm taking the outside of the cage, really circling the outside, making Ronda Rousey really close the distance and get to her. Ronda Rousey really had it struggling closing the distance and trying to get in there. Holly Holm did a lot of backing up and then popping left straights down the middle or check right hooks there, eventually getting Ronda Rousey out of there in the second round with a head kick. One of the biggest upsets in UFC history, not just women's MMA, but UFC history there. So there was one attempt, I think, by Ronda Rousey in the first round. Did not get it, and then had 4 seconds of control time, so not much there. But Holly Holm implementing basically the perfect game plan for Ronda Rousey, taking the outside, really not letting Ronda Rousey get close at all, and then picking her apart at range. So I think it's going to be somewhat similar for Holly Holm in terms of game plan here. So it's worth noting. Go back and watch that there. Then she wins the belt off of Ronda Rousey, then fights Miesha Tate in the wants to defend her belt against Miesha Tate. Miesha Tate shoots 5, 7, 9 takedowns, only getting 2 of them. She got one in round number 2, where she got 270 seconds of control time. So I went back and watched the ground time for Holly Holm. She did spend a lot of time in half guard. She had the triangle leg of Miesha Tate's triangle and really controlling postures there. So Miesha Tate wasn't really able to advance positions. Not that Miesha Tate was really looking to advance positions. And then again, Holly Holm really controlling the posture. Looks like Miesha Tate landed 10 of 12 ground strikes for 270 seconds of ground control time. So Holly Holm survives that round, ends up winning rounds 3 and 4, 2 takedown attempts each for Miesha Tate in both of those rounds. Did not get them. And then in round number 5, Miesha Tate goes 1 for 3 in takedowns. There's a scramble there, and Miesha Tate jumps on the back of Holly Holm, sinks in the rear naked choke with about 30 seconds left in that fight. And again, Miesha Tate was losing that fight. Miesha Tate getting the stoppage win in round number 5 by submission, winning the belt there. So Holly Holm back to the drawing board. Her next fight, she takes on Valentina Shevchenko here. Valentina Shevchenko shoots 7 times, 7 takedowns, getting 3 of them, but most of the time she popped right back up. Round number 1, Shevchenko got a takedown, popped up, only 4 seconds of control time. Round number 2, didn't get a takedown, shot once, didn't get it. Round number 3 went 2 for 2 in takedowns. Now, if you go back and watch those, both of those takedowns coming from inside trip. The first time, Holly Holm pops right back up. The second time, Shevchenko gets in there and then gets some ground control time, 158 seconds of ground control time in total. But same thing where Shevchenko sort of hung out in half guard. Really didn't get to see much of Holly Holm on her back there. And again, Shevchenko just riding out the round in control time. So we'll continue on. Then she fights Germaine de Randamie, a striker. Germaine de Randamie, no takedowns there. One attempt in round number 1, didn't get it, but nothing to write home about. Betch Correia never shot a takedown. Against Cyborg, went 5 rounds with Cyborg, did not attempt a takedown. Megan Anderson, 3 rounds with Megan Anderson, did not attempt a takedown. Amanda Nunes fights. Holly Holm fights Amanda Nunes in 2019. Amanda Nunes shoots 1 takedown. I think Holly Holm got briefly there, used the wizard to pop back up, so did not count as a takedown for Amanda Nunes. Amanda Nunes eventually landing a head kick and winning there. And then fights Raquel Pennington again in 2020. Raquel Pennington going 1 for 1 in takedowns in round number 1. Only 17 seconds of control time. Again, she pops right back up from that takedown and then remains on her feet for the rest of that fight. In 2020, she fights Irina Aldana for 5 rounds, no takedown attempts there. And then Caitlin Vieira was the last time she saw some takedowns. Caitlin Vieira in the first round going 0 for 5 in takedowns, but 5 of those were all just whizzer kicks, just against the fence in the clinch. Caitlin Vieira kept on going for the same move against the fence, did not get it. And then in round 2, actually goes for the whizzer kick, but in the center of the cage, gets a takedown. Again, Holly Holm able to pop right back up there, so no real control time for Caitlin Vieira there. And then fights Yana Santos in 2023, no takedowns there. And her last fight against Moira Bueno Silva, no takedowns there again. So overall, I just wanted to go into the details. 33 attempts seen. 7 of them have been successful, but really only 2 of them, of those 7 times that she was taken down, only 2 of them was more than a couple of seconds of control time. And that was, again, against Miesha Tate and Valentina Shevchenko. Most of that ground time spent in half guard there. Holly Holm looking to control the posture. So really important stuff to sort of understand how Holly Holm looks on the ground. Gives us a good idea of how this fight is going to play out. So I do not have stats on Kayla Harrison. I do have it in terms of her striking breakdown. So we'll go into that in terms of her tendencies, and I'll tell you how I see the fight playing out. So Okay, so Kayla Harrison's going to be in Southpaw. Holly Holm is also going to be in Southpaw. They're going to take the center of the cage. Again, judging by the Ronda Rousey fight, Holly Holm, and just generally how Holly Holm fights, she normally takes the outside of the cage. She's going to circle the outside. Again, this is going to be the bigger cage at UFC 300 in Vegas. So Holly Holm going to have a lot of room to move. She's going to circle the outside, stay on her bike. Holly Holm mostly a counterpuncher. She doesn't really engage too much. If she does engage, she'll throw some kicks at a distance, things like that. But she will wait for Kayla Harrison to sort of enter and then sort of circle off. What Holly Holm does well is, again, she does have a nice step back, pops the left hand. So she'll back up, plant her left foot, throw the left straight, catch you on the way in, or she'll circle off and throw the check right hook on the circle off in southpaw. So Kayla Harrison is going to have to close that distance and try to get the fight down to the ground. Kayla Harrison, her striking pretty basic from what we've seen there. Pulling up some of the numbers so I can just talk to you about the numbers there. So over her last 5 fights for Kayla Harrison, only about 5 minutes in total of standing time. That's not including clinch time. So distance striking time for Kayla Harrison, only about 5 minutes over her last 5 fights. That includes a 5-round fight to Larissa Pacheco in there. So in those 5 minutes of striking, we see that she throws 28% of her strikes are with the leg kick, the left leg. So she stands in southpaw. 28% of the strikes involve the left leg. 67% of her strikes are going to be single shots, so either single jabs, single crosses, single hooks, or single kicks up the middle there. Overall, 39% of Kayla Harrison's strikes are kicks. So close to 40% of her strikes are kicks. She does look to throw that rear kick, the left leg, either going low kick or high kick there. Against another southpaw, going low kick's not going to do... I mean, the low kick against low kick... the left kick against an orthodox, you might see some leg kicks from Kayla Harrison, but it's not that she has a crazy good leg kick. She just spams it out there just to throw something. And then you go back and watch the fight tape. She does throw this left high kick quite a bit, but it comes up very slow, and it's sort of awkward that she sort of falls off of the balance. So obviously striking range, striking, distance striking, I'm going to heavily favor Holly Holm distance striking. I think she has a lot better arsenal in terms of kicking range, kicking strikes. I think she has a better left straight. Kayla Harrison, again, she's going to throw a lot of 1-2s. I've sort of broken down her striking here in terms of frequency. 14% of her strikes, distance strikes, are going to be 1-2s. And then we talked about that rear low kick. 13% of that is that rear low kick, the left leg. 13% is going to be just the straight two, that left hand. She likes to throw that left hand a lot. And then 8% is going to be the right, the check right hook. 8% is going to be just the single jab. And then 6% is going to be the right hook there. So pretty basic striking. Again, a lot of single shots, a lot of 1-2s. Nothing too crazy, but she does throw. What I find with Kayla Harrison is that she sets up in southpaw. She will throw the 1-2, and sometimes she will intentionally miss the 2 so that she can grab onto her opponent there. What she's really trying to do is get into the clinch, and then from the clinch she's going to work her underhooks, and she has a really nasty inside trip game, outside trip game. So a lot of Kayla Harrison's takedowns are going to come from the clinch. Holly Holm, again, has decent takedown attempts, takedown defense, but hasn't seen a ton of trips. We did see Shevchenko get her down twice with inside trips. Miesha Tate was more of a double leg, I think. Again, the Caitlin Vieira ones were whizzer kicks there. So I have seen Holly Holm get taken down a couple of times by trips. Ronda Rousey did not get her down there. So this fight is going to come down to the clinch and the inside trips of Kayla Harrison. So if Kayla Harrison can close that distance, get a hold of Holly Holm, and then work the clinch and get the fight down to the ground. Most of the times we've seen Holly Holm pop right back up. I have a sneaky suspicion that Kayla Harrison is going to be a lot better than some of these grapplers that Holly Holm has faced. So I don't expect Holly Holm to simply just pop back up. And we have seen if Holly Holm does get flattened out and doesn't get the initial momentum or the initial scramble up to her feet, that she can spend a lot of time on her back. Most of the times, again, was in half guard, so she'll control your legs, triangle your legs in half guard. What I find with Kayla Harrison, again, she uses the trips to get down to the ground. If she ends up in full guard, she'll transition to half guard, right? Obviously. And then from half guard, she's going to push on the leg. She wants to get to side control. From side control, what I found was that she defaults to either try to go for mounted crucifix from side control, or she will step over and try to go either knee on belly or go full mount. And then once on mount, she controls the position, makes sure that she's stable, and then postures up for ground and pound, ground and pound, ground and pound. In the fight tape there, we really saw that it really depends on who's reffing it, and the stoppage comes down to how much damage the referee is just allowing them to take. At UFC 300 against former champion Holly Holm, I seem to suspect that the referees are going to let this go a little bit, so I can see a case where Kayla Harrison's on top, maybe she gets down to mount, throwing a bunch of strikes, things like that. And then if the strikes aren't too damaging, I can see the referee actually letting the fight go on a little bit. Potential Holly Holm retirement fight, so they may let her, give her a chance to fight out of it. But again, Holly Holm most of the times is just want to control the posture. Holly Holm is no danger of throwing up arm bars from her back, triangles from her back, sort of thing. So the difference in this fight is that if Kayla Harrison can control Holly Holm on the ground, I think that's probably, obviously the way that Kayla Harrison's going to win. But I think Holly Holm can maybe do enough to sort of limit the movement, control the posture, control the leg. Again, she goes triangling the leg, so it's not that she has a wide open half guard. She'll try to control the posture, and then again, I think she's decent enough to sort of prevent it. But again, Kayla Harrison in mount, she's very dangerous once she does get to mount. Again, she'll work the grappling to get to side control. From side control, she'll either go mounted crucifix, which Holly Holm probably could get stuck in. And then from mounted crucifix, from side control, she'll go to full mount. From full mount, again, it really depends on the referee, which I talked about. And then I find if the damage doesn't work or the referee doesn't stop it from the ground and pound, then she'll start looking for submissions. She'll look for an arm triangle from mount. She might look for an arm bar from mount. Those are two of the main ones that she'll go for. Maybe she'll work a Kimura, but I don't think she's finished any Kimuras there. Again, it's mostly arm triangles and arm bars for Kayla Harrison. So we just haven't seen Holly Holm get stuck in those positions. Yes, she did get choked out by Miesha Tate, rear naked choke, all that stuff. So I do think it comes down to the takedowns. I think starting out, Holly Holm is going to take the outside of the cage. I just want to go back in terms. I don't think that Holly Holm is going to engage in the pocket. I think that Kayla Harrison is going to struggle to close the distance. And I can see a case where Holly Holmes just pops her jab, sticks, and moves and becomes a boring fight. And honestly, if Kayla Harrison doesn't know how to close the distance or really struggles with the movement of Holly Holm, I can see a case for Holly Holm going late and either winning decision or maybe even a late stoppage. Depending on the grappling here, it might get to a case where Kayla Harrison's really struggling to close the distance. They're clinching up against the cage. Holly Holm is a pretty good clinch fighter. She has a decent clinch there. So if Kayla Harrison maybe can't get the trips and they're stuck in the clinch, I can see Holly Holm landing a couple of strikes in the clinch. And then, again, maybe she gets her taken down and then Holly Holm pops back up. We have seen Kayla Harrison slow down a little bit, but that was in a 5-round fight against Larissa Pacheco. Pacheco, probably the other top prospect in LFA. That was a grappling heavy fight, and that was a 5-round fight. This one being 3 rounds, I don't think the cardio is going to be too much of an issue, but it is the first time of Kayla Harrison dropping down to 135 pounds. So very interesting to see how that fight or how she looks coming in at 135. So I think I talked about in terms of the predictions. I think Kayla Harrison, if she's going to win, she's going to have to get that takedown from the trips. She's going to have to get to mount. And then from mount, I think she's going to have to find a finish either by ground and pound or by submission there. Or she could also win a decision. So I'll go straight into the numbers, see what the likely outcomes are, and then I'll get you my best bets here. So here's my handy dandy bankroll tracker here. What I like to go is I like to go through the various outcomes of the fight, assign a certain percentage of it there. Then it'll give me my overall line value and where the value lines. I use Kelly criterion to determine how much of a bankroll to put on there. So let's get this started here. We put Kayla Harrison on the blue side, Holly Holm there on the right side. So Kayla Harrison to win by TKO. I definitely think it's possible, but I don't think it's possible on the feet. I do not see Kayla Harrison landing and knocking out Holly Holm on the feet. That left high kick is not fast enough to land on Holly Holm. I don't think, maybe there's a very small percentage chance that Kayla Harrison clips Holly Holm with a 1-2 or a straight left. I just don't see it. Holly Holm has been, historically pretty durable. So I think if the TKO comes, it's probably from ground and pound. She'll have to get the takedown, get to mount, and then rain down some ground and pound, or even get to the back and then ground and pound from the back as well. So I'm going to put TKO about 10 to 15%. We'll put 15% because I definitely think it's possible that she gets into a dominant position. And then win by submission, it's going to be the exact same thing as the TKO. It's really pick your poison at that point. Obviously, the submission depends on Kayla Harrison getting the takedown. It should maybe a little bit less because Kayla Harrison does have maybe standing TKO upside. But I think on the ground, I think she's live for that as well. So I'm going to put 15% to start for Kayla Harrison sub. I think she has to get to a dominant position. I think she has to get to mount in order to get the submissions. I don't think I recall seeing any submissions from like full guard or half guard. Maybe side control, and again, it's more of a mounted crucifix from side control. So maybe that goes into the TKO numbers there. I do think that Kayla Harrison to win by decision is live. And I do think that part of it is Holly Holm's not going to engage in a firefight to start. Holly Holm's going to take the outside of the cage, circle around the cage. So it might take a good round for Kayla Harrison just close the distance and get the fight down to the ground. It's possible that Holly Holm, bobs and weaves, sticks her with a couple of jabs, circles the outside, and then maybe Kayla Harrison gets the takedown with like maybe 2 minutes left in round number 1, and then she's trying to work, trying to get into a mount or something like that. But Holly Holm more controlling the posture, she's limiting the damage, and then Kayla Harrison wins that round from 2 minutes of control time, a little bit of ground and pound, things like that. Rinse and repeat for round 2 sort of thing, and then we have Kayla Harrison to go to decision sort of thing. So I do think it's live. I'm going to put 30% for now. I think I'm a little bit short, but we'll go back to it in the meantime. Holly Holm to win by TKO. Moving over to that side, I think it's possible. I think it could come from 2 ways. One, obviously, head kicks. Like a Ronda Rousey sort of type head kick. She does throw some nice head kicks overall. It's going to be southpaw versus southpaw, so the rear high kick comes a little bit harder to land on another southpaw. The other way that TKO comes is probably from Kayla Harrison gassing. We haven't seen Kayla Harrison drop down to 135. We don't know how she's going to look. She said she's taken a couple of test cuts down to 135 and been successful in it, so she was confident that she could make it. And also, you lose some of the chin a little bit as you move down in weight, so maybe she can be a little bit more chinny. Maybe she's a little bit dehydrated going down to 135. And so maybe the TKO comes in the later rounds there. I don't think it's too likely. I'm going to put maybe 10% for Holly Holm to win by TKO. Holly Holm to win by submission, I don't think it's possible. I don't see her throwing up any arm bars, triangles like that from the bottom, so we're going to leave that at 0% there. And now Holly Holm to win by decision. I think this is also live. I think this comes from, again, the taking the outside. I think if she can keep the fight standing, she probably wins a decision. I can see her, again, pop, she makes all these sounds, inside kicks, outside kicks, just touch, move back, step back left hand, check right hook, circles off sort of thing. I can see her doing that for 3 rounds, and I can see Kayla Harrison kind of struggling maybe to close the distance and getting the takedown. Even if she gets the takedown, Holly Holm can pop back up, and then maybe the cardio dynamic, she wins round 3, maybe she wins round 1, sort of thing. So I think decision is possible. I think it's probably most of Holly Holm's win equity there. I want to say 10%, but I think it's a little bit higher. I'm going to go 15% for a decision there. That means I'm short 10% here. I'm going to add to the TKO and submission, I think, for Kayla Harrison. 25, 20, 75. Let's go 10. Okay, hold on. Let me redo some of these things. I'm going to change Holly Holm decision to 10%. I'm going to put the Kayla Harrison decision to 35%. and I think that's about right. So let me recap them. You tell me if I'm off. Kayla Harrison to win by TKO 25% plus 300 or better. Kayla Harrison to win by submission 20% plus 400 or better. And Kayla Harrison to win by decision 35% or plus 186 or better. Total money line out of Kayla Harrison 80% or minus 400 or better. On the Holly Holm side, I broke it down between TKO 10% and decision 10%, both of them plus 900 or better, or a total money line of 20% plus 400 or better. I think that's about right. We haven't seen a lot of sample size for Holly Holm off of her back and takedown attempts, and I just know Kayla Harrison's a beast. But I do think Holly Holm is a big step up from Aspen Ladd. Even Larissa Pacheco, she was able to control Pacheco, but Pacheco got back up there. So I can see Holly Holm being somewhat of some trouble for Kayla Harrison. But in the 3-round fight, I think Kayla Harrison probably rolls. It is dependent on her getting that takedown. I think it is likely she gets the takedown. Whether or not she advances position into mount, things like that, I just don't see it. Probably going to be a little bit tougher for her. And I have seen her go 3-round decisions against a little bit of a step up. I think she went 3 rounds to Aspen Ladd. And then I think there was a Marina in there that she went for 3 rounds as well. So overall, I think fight goes to decision at 45% plus 122. Not to go to decision, 55% or minus 122 on that side. So I think that's about right. Let's go over to the fight odds and see where the actual odds are. I have not checked this in a little bit. We're going to go down to UFC 300. Where is it here? Kayla Harrison minus 465. I'll come back plus 365. So minus 465, 365, minus 465, and then 365. Okay. So when I plug the current odds into our Kelly Criterion calculator, it's saying both sides are minus EV just because of the VIG or the juice. So the current line minus 465, I'm saying the line on Kayla Harrison plus 400 or better. So it's not good there. And then on the Holly Holm side, I think I said you need plus 400 or better. You're only getting plus 365 there. So both sides saying do not bet in terms of EV. I'm going to be picking, obviously, Kayla Harrison to win. I might be looking at some props and some same-game parlays if they come out during that time. But the Kayla Harrison, I think, is justified. There is a couple of question marks in terms of the drop to 135. If she doesn't get to 135, then they call off the fight, then your bet is safe. But if she gets to 135, I think Kayla Harrison pretty safe to cruise here. I did want to talk about one thing. Kayla Harrison making her UFC debut. She's coming over from PFL. I'm sure that Dana White pays a lot of money for Kayla Harrison to come over. And then now it's basically a showcase fight for Kayla Harrison. Look at this shiny new toy that we got. Who on our roster can we set her up with? Who is the biggest name that we can find? Maybe the easiest matchup? Holly Holm checks all of those boxes. She's a former champion. She's a household name that everybody remembers. And Holly Holm's 40-something, 43 years old this year. And Holly Holm's a boxer / kickboxer up against a judo Olympian. On paper, it looks like a mismatch. It's everything to do with Kayla Harrison. Kayla Harrison's the new one. They're going to promote her sort of thing. So I can see Holly Holm taking this one, making a lot of money in this fight, and then maybe potentially retiring. I don't think she's close enough to a title shot. Maybe, I've said it before, but depends on how bad she looks and all that stuff. So I'm not going to hint on it. I have no idea. I'm just guessing sort of thing. But for me, if I had to set up a fight and Kayla Harrison coming over, that's who I would pick. It's the biggest name that you can find in terms of an exciting fight as well. And I think the skill set and the mismatch on the ground is big enough to really showcase what Kayla Harrison can do. Holly Holm has been a dog her UFC career. She's normally sort of underdog. She has a game plan, and she has a fighting style that is kind of hard to sort of game plan for. You really have to know how to close the distance, and then from there you have to get the clinch, things like that. But Kayla Harrison, a 2-time Olympic gold medalist, or not, medalist, I think Kayla Harrison can get the fight down to the ground. I just don't know if she's going to finish her there. So That's a long-winded breakdown there. A lot of unknowns, but I am confident, I think, on the Kayla Harrison side. I might sprinkle in some Holly Holm money there, and I'm going to get creative. I think I'm going to depend on where the props open and where the lines are. But if I do bet, I'm going to bet it over on patreon.com/FightingStats. I post all of our plays and bets over there. So once the props get released, definitely go check that out there, all the plays there. So my name is Artsy. This is Fighting Stats. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you have any comments, leave them below. Let me know how we're doing and if you can improve on anything else. Thanks for watching and hope you enjoyed the show. All right, guys. Well, that is it for today. Thank you very much for watching. If you like this type of content, make sure you smash the like button, hit the subscribe. You'll get notified anytime we put out new content. Listen to this. We just hit a massive parlay for $29,000 at UFC 297. That is one UFC after 296 where we hit a parlay for $82,000. That's back-to-back parlays. We've made $110,000. And how do we do it? We use our exclusive fighting stats, not available anywhere else. Our exclusive fighting stats gives us information, gives us a big edge over the sportsbooks, and tell us what's going to happen within the fights. We post all that information, our breakdowns, our best bets, over at patreon.com/FightingStats. Don't miss out. Make sure you subscribe today. Again, my name is Art C. This is Fighting Stats. Thanks for watching.